his physical life, living out in the sand, he has to figure out new ways to think and adapt. And the dunes provide this space for internal metamorphosis because he can open up new life perspectives and discover new things when he discovers the water. And this water allows him to better adapt. Internal metamorphosis, he breaks out of his mental prison when he finds water. It says the fact that he was just as much at the bottom of the hole as ever had not changed, but he felt quite as if he had climbed to the top of a tower. Now that he has found water, the villagers don't hold power over Nicky, and the change in the sand corresponded to a change in himself. Perhaps along the way with the water and the sand, he had found a new self. So he finally adapts not only to the sand, but to himself. He feels empowerment and grows in self-confidence now that he finds the water. And additional influences that there's themes present in Women in the Dunes are Nietzsche, Lewis Carroll, Haruki Murakami, Beckett, and Ionesco. And Haruki Murakami wrote After Dark, which several of you read, and there's some parallels between that and Women in the Dunes also.
Well, the next thing about that kind of goes in with the adaptation area is existentialism, and that's something we've been learning about for a very long time. It's kind of just an overarching theme in all of our books. Okay, well, we already know what it is, but here's a little bit more about it. He was the father of existentialism, and one of the famous quotes is, "We are each responsible for bringing meaning to our own lives." And that's kind of the whole point of Woman in the Dunes, where Nicky he's living this life back as an amateur entomologist or a teacher, but then that doesn't really mean anything for him, so coming here shouldn't change anything, but as a non-existentialist, it does. And existentialism is a philosophy that takes as its starting point the individual's existence. Everything that it has to say, everything that it believes can be said of significance about the world we inhabit, our feelings, thoughts, knowledge, ethics, and they all stem from this central founding idea. Stephen Earnshaw, he was a very existentialist writer. The existentialist perspective. Existentialists all believe that we have to find our own meaning in life, like the first slide suggested. We aren't meant to do anything. We don't have a certain destiny. Life is just kind of a string of events that all link together that don't hold any meaning. We don't have a set path that we follow, Like in The Stranger, when Mersal is faced with the choice of shooting the Arab, he realizes that either way, the outcome doesn't matter. He can shoot him, he cannot shoot him. And that is just kind of the whole idea of existentialism. This is a picture that I found that I liked. You see there's all these arrows and they're just pointing all sorts of different directions, and they're all contradicting each other, kind of just showing the overarching idea that nothing really matters here. Okay. In The Woman in the Dunes, there's the whole section about how Nicky thinks he talks about how he has a round-trip ticket. He thinks he's going to go there, he's going to get his bugs, he's going to come home. But when he gets there, over time, he starts to realize that he's not going home. He thinks he tries to escape over all these times, but it doesn't end up working. And as an existentialist would say, that there is nothing, he doesn't have a home, technically he has a home, but he doesn't have anything that he's supposed to go back to. This round-trip ticket idea is just that, it's just an idea, when life is kind of just a one-way ticket. They all believe that existentialism is about this one reality. It's about he was comfortable with his old life because it was familiar to him. But as an existentialist, he would come to this new environment and not really care that it's so different, because he would be forced to adapt to this new reality. And the less that you scrutinize your your life, then the more content that you'll be with all of it. The less you scrutinize your surroundings, the less you care about where you are, and the more you live in the moment, the happier you will be. And then there's something that he mentions. He says, there's no particular need to hurry about escaping. On the two-way ticket he held in his hand now, the destination and the time of departure were blanks for him to fill in as he wished. So he comes to realize in the end that once he's happy, once he realizes that he doesn't need to return anywhere, that he actually has this two-way ticket because he actually has means for escaping, but he chooses to stay. So that ties into the Stockholm Syndrome and about how now he's adapted to this current reality, and he could leave, he could stay, but it just doesn't really matter which one he does.
Insects in the Woman in the Dunes, it's a big theme, and we see it a lot throughout the book. And adaptable, here's just some examples of some Japanese adaptable insects, or some aren't, but the carpet beetle, it's adaptable because it's a generous diet and its living conditions, it's very adaptable to different environments. And we all know grasshoppers, they can survive in many environments because we see them all across the U.S., all different places. And ants are just a really good example because they're adaptable to almost all environments and extremely good at finding food. They're good scavengers. And then connection to the Woman in the Dunes. Nikki is an insect collector and ends up in the dunes looking for specific insects because he's trying to find a new beetle. And that's pretty much how he gets caught in the dunes. And his quest for new species of beetles leads him into his captivity. And he must learn to adapt as the bugs he looks for do. So when he gets captured, he has to go through all these different adaptations to his new environment. And can you guys think of any ways that he adapts? Because there's a lot.
Water.
Yes. Definitely. His new captors who provide him with water and then find water, he has to get used to that and adapt to that whole new way of living. And there's a good quote on page 11 in The Woman in the Dunes. It says, "The fact that the fly showed great adaptability meant that it could be at home even in unfavorable environments in which other insects could not live. For example, a desert where all other living things perished." That's almost a perfect parallel to what's kind of happening to Nikki there, because he's out in the desert and it's a new environment for him and he's not used to it, but he adapts to what his new living conditions are, because he's almost forced to. Well, he is. And so he has to adapt to living with the woman and the water and doing all the work. And then here's a couple pictures of bugs that he does mention in the novel. The Orthoptera, small winged crickets and white whiskered earwigs. There's a picture of one. And then the Rhinocada, red striped soldier bugs. Those are just two of the ones he mentions actually in the novel. And then ways he adapts. He has to get used to this new lifestyle of work, even though he keeps trying to escape. And he gets used to the woman, and he ends up almost falling in love with her. And then that's basically it. He has to get used to digging and then the whole water system and how the captors treat him, the woman. It's just the
So, my section, I chose to show specific examples of adaptation in the dunes. And first, I'd like to start with a little bit of history about the book. It was published in 1964, and during that time there was a Marxist revival happening, and some themes of that revival were the evils of capitalism, because Karl Marx was socialist/communist, and it kind of shows how the villagers were, they were benefiting from they were taking all the, sort of like the glory from Nikki and the woman digging the sand, but they were benefiting from it. They were selling the sand to the concrete company, but Nikki and the woman were stuck in slavery. So it kind of shows how